ground for third consecutive election victory. Quite expected, because it is only months now from the general elections. And we certainly on this program will be taking some time to have a look at some of those crucial seats, because even though the JLP won the last election with a very low voter turnout in 2020, and they hold 49 now of the seats in the House of Representatives, the PNP having 14. There are a number of marginal seats on which we'll be focusing on this program as we prepare for the night of the elections. This morning I'd like to, and during the course of the program, perhaps ask the people of St. Mary Western, fascinating seat for what it is. Very fascinating. It's a seat that was one of the original 32 seats created in 1944. And the fascinating thing about Western St. Mary is that it has gone with the party that has won the election for every year, except perhaps 1962, according to the data. Western St. Mary has had, since 2007, excepting 2011, they've had a son of the soil in Bobby Montaque, Robert Bobby Montaque, being their member of parliament. When I look back at my history, I note that in 2007, when Bruce Golding won for the Jamaica Labour Party, that Mr. Montaque took that seat home by 767 votes. In 2011, when the PNP won that election, so remember, in 2007, when the JLP won, Montaque took that seat. So that seat voted with the party that won the election. In 2011, when the PNP won the national elections, Joyland Silvera took that seat from Mr. Montaque with a margin of 227 votes. So needless to say, on election night in 2016, it was one of the seats that we watched. And the JLP won the general election on the night, and Mr. Montaque took that seat back by 3,476 votes. And in fact, the number of votes he got, 11,710, was among, I think it was only himself and Southwest St. Catherine's Everett Warmington who had the highest number of votes in the 2016 general elections. And even 2020, when we had a low voter turnout and Mr. Montaque took that seat, again the JLP won that election. So you see where the constituency is literally straddling and shadowing what goes on nationally. Mr. Montaque was able to take that by 9,000 and odd votes. But fascinatingly for me, Mr. Montaque is the chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party, the governing party, but he hasn't been a minister for a number of years. In fact, the feeling coming out of his loss in 2011, the feeling was, as happened with Christopherton down in St. Elizabeth as well, the feeling was that the trappings of ministerial office led to a lessening of time to spend with the constituents and to do some of the things constituents expect of a member of parliament. So, based on what I'm hearing from polls conducted elsewhere and soundings on the ground in St. Mary Western, I do not understand how and why a local member of parliament who resides in his constituency and who does not have the trappings of a minister and who is the chairman of the governing political party, what on earth is happening in Western St. Mary such that the soundings coming out of Western St. Mary, both with official polls and anecdotal information coming from some of the people there, all of that is saying trouble did it. Yeah? So I'd like to better understand in all of these very important divisions, of which there are 5 down there in St. Mary, what is going on. You know, when the local government elections came on some months ago, I remember doing my soundings with a lot of people. And the caretaker in St. Mary Western for the People's National Party, a man I understand is Mr. Omar Woodbine. He's a very fascinating individual. But I've since learned that he is actually blood relative of a key financier of the JLP in the constituency. And so the loyalties of the financier are apparently split along familial lines, as in genetically linked familial lines, bloodline, versus politically linked. And it may very well be that that is making some dent in Bobby Montaque's hold on the constituency. Yeah? There are some people who say he's been doing this, he's been doing that, he's been visible, and some people are saying the exact opposite of that they don't see him. One doesn't even quite know what to make of these extreme positions, because you really can't find a position in between those. But for the people of St. Mary Western, I'd certainly love to hear from you about what is going on as we prepare and keep our eyes on some seats. Frankly, if Mr. Montaque is to lose based on the majority votes he held coming out of 2020, it's gonna take yeoman efforts. Yeah, and the swing against him, it will have to be so large. Not impossible, but it would take somebody who is not only local but more affable than Montaque, who is deep-pocketed and who has been able to build the trust among the people for a number of years. I believe this particular gentleman, the information I had on him, is not only is he a good community person, but the ties he has in the constituencies, they straddle not only political ties, but good community ties. And as you know, all politics is local. So people can be drawn to an individual like that, which is sort of what happened in Northeast St. Anne with Shahini, and also some of what happened in Portland Eastern with Anne-Marie Vaz. And it really does take a lot for individuals to defeat these ties of political and community loyalty. But the important thing in this case is that Mr. Montaque is supposed to have these ties as well, because St. Mary Western is actually his domain. He resides there. Yeah, so if you watch him as well in the presentations in the Parliament, it's been something interesting to analyze, because when I listen to the constituency updates and so forth that he gives, or that he's given, especially since he's been a backbencher, I could tell the representations that were being made to him locally, because he became one of the most critical backbenchers of members of the executive, and openly called in the Parliament for things to be done, because he had to consistently play to the gallery in Western St. Mary who've been watching. There's been some disaffection about what has not happened there with roads, water, and so forth, but I'd love to get an update as to actually where things are now in the constituency, and whether there is really a possibility. It seems to be more than a possibility now, but how do we actually sum this up as we get closer to the election, with Mr. Woodbine breathing down the political ears of the chairman of the Jamaica Labour Party, Mr. Montaque. Yeah, so let's spend a little time hearing from some people from St. Mary Western this morning, if we can. And Central St. Mary has had for the last 22 years, I hear him say in the Parliament, for 5 consecutive terms, Dr. Maurice Guy as Member of Parliament. And he gave what is expected to be his last presentation in the Parliament a couple days ago. What an absolute gentleman Dr. Guy has been in the politics. Really, he's not a performative sort of person. He doesn't play for the camera, doesn't play for the gallery. He represents his people well, clearly, because you don't hold a constituency for 5 consecutive terms without doing something well and listening to the people. I mean, his last lick in the Parliament was perhaps the, one of the one with the greatest fire I've heard him present. And all of the sentiments, or, there was probably a little play for the first time to me in his presentation, but that is perhaps how a last lick is supposed to go. Yeah, but outside of that, he has been a gentleman in the politics. And I do hope that those younger ones who are coming behind him can watch and emulate whilst they make their own mark on the political landscape. So Dr. Maurice Guy, Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary, thank you for your representation, the quality and the gentleman-like character that you've brought to representation in this country. Yesterday was an interesting day, listeners. Very interesting day, because I learned that our very own Usain Bolt has now had his name entered in the Guinness records as an icon. And I thought, excellent, well deserved, excellent. And as I listened to the newscasts on at least 2 stations, including this one, for both midday and 5 o'clock, I just couldn't understand how that particular news item didn't lead the newscast over thousands of people flocking to KFC. What exactly is the news value of scores of people, hundreds of people flocking to KFC and getting comment from people who go to KFC to get their free meal deal or whatever. Is there some value in that? There were so many other items of news that didn't come in some newscast at all. Or if they did, they were buried down at 3 or 4 on the list. Yeah? When we have something of a first in this entry of Usain Bolt. And we had to hear how people were fighting for KFC. Leading midday and 5 p.m. Crazy. Crazy, I tell you. But I don't know how these things get decided so much these days. I've never been an editor. But there is clearly some commonality of views and editorial decision because both media houses led with the same thing. And there's no sharing of information by them as to what leads the newscast. But so it is. Anyway, we'll be with you for the look ahead as to what to expect in this 2020 elections. Also on Monday, interesting Jovan Johnson stories that the government has pressed for urgent review hearing of the states of public emergency ruling, citing legal threats and national security. I certainly look forward to having this matter heard on appeal as well. As I've said elsewhere, it is my view that constitutional matters, especially where they are being tested for the first time, whatever the outcome, they shouldn't really stop at the court of first decision. They should go to the Court of Appeal, or if necessary, to the Privy Council for clarity on the issues that were raised before the Constitutional Court. I know some people have chastised the Attorney General, and not even the Attorney General specifically, they chastised the government for seeking to appeal the decision concerning the rolling of the public, the states of emergency. But I don't find it to be a reason to chastise. I actually think it is good to have the review court, which is the appeal court, have a look and to see if there were errors of law made by the Constitutional Court, even though that decision was unanimous. And if we have any doubt on the value of that sort of appeal, then one decision that is known to the country and most of the people in the world is the decision of Adidja Palmer, where we had a judge who came to a decision in chambers not to discharge the jury after certain complaints were made to him by the foreman. And when he gave instructions to the jurors, they returned the verdict of guilty against Vybz Kartel and others. And we had an appeal to our local appellate court of appeal, where a unanimous decision of the court was written. In fact, it is one of the first cases I've read where no individual judge of the Court of Appeal identified him or herself. The 3-member panel just said, this is the decision of the court. And we had the decision written and the appeal dismissed. And we were able to watch as the Privy Council, Jamaica's final appellate court, completely overturned the decision of our Court of Appeal on the point particularly concerning the poison juror. And that, even if there were cases before in this jurisdiction, as I've seen at least 2 King's Counsel say, That decision of the Privy Council has settled the matter in this jurisdiction. So I too look forward to an urgent hearing of the appeal concerning states of emergency. Yeah, but help me, Western St. Mary. Give us calls and tell us what is going on in the division in which you live and why you believe Bobby Montaque is in the fight for his political life.
Join us next.